I don't mind.
Call the police immediately.
I don't get it.
No idea what you're talking about. Yes? Hello? Hi, stranger.
I want ham and eggs and flapjacks with lots of butter and syrup and coffee. I'll take the coffee now.
Why have you come with me? Rain.
Where's my dough?
Good morning, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's your main man, the number one chief rocker, Uncle Freezy, and I am joined by Yankees Morning Brew, Heck, and Pastor Jeremy from Further and Fathering. Chuck Allen is in the building, behind the scenes, grinding away. Good morning, Bob says good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
To live on Vibes and Stuff. Heck, how you doing this morning, man?
I'm good. It is a pleasure. When I saw the thumbnail for this, I was like, I had to reach out because I want to be a part of this conversation. Freezy, anytime we get into these kind of conversations, I love to go on my soapbox, But a pleasure being here, Pastor Jeremy. Like I said backstage, pleasure being on the panel with you, my guy.
Yes, Pastor Jeremy, how you doing this morning?
I always say this: I am excited to be alive.
Excited.
Yes, I am excited to be alive.
Yeah, because the alternative may be boring.
Yeah. No, where I'm going, it won't be.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's stuff to do here. Got stuff to do here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Before we go,
Yes,
guys,
sir.
got a few things to handle. Yeah,
Before
man.
we go on our final lunch break.
Yeah. And everybody, Chuck is behind the scenes just working on a tech issue. He'll join us as quickly as we can. Generally, what we do is get into some hood horoscope and you play a little music. But since you guys are here, I'm just gonna fast forward this a little bit just because we started a little later, right? But the topic for today is cancel culture. And how it impacts us and how it can be weaponized, right? And so the reason why we talk about this today, because it's easy to be muted if you do or say something that may be offensive to a certain group of people, even if it calls for you reforming or changing yourself, right? And also, it has become a safeguard, so to speak. Heck, I'm gonna start with you. Do you have any instances of where you saw cancel culture used in a sense to protect, say, a certain group of people?
When it comes to cancel culture, and it's been a big word that's been going around ever since like 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
But it's just, I feel people's understanding of it is lost, because everybody just thinks that, it's just this, it's just, getting people in trouble. And, one thing I always like to say, it's basically just accountability, right? So if you want to say accountability culture, that's one thing. But then when you have like massive platforms like a YouTube or a Twitter or a Facebook, or even like a corporation, whether whatever job you work at or whatever, one thing we have to understand is that these corporations, they aren't beholden to us. They don't have to answer to us. So when they put out their stuff or when they're creating their spaces, they're trying to make it as commercial as possible for profit. right? So there's certain things that if they feel that they can't make $1 off of it, why even have it on their platform? You know, why even promote it? You know, why scare off other advertisers from you know, giving Freezy certain ads? You know, why would Kleenex want to, you know, give you an ad on your YouTube channel if all you talk about is conspiracy stuff? You know, and there's different like tiers of everything. You have free speech absolutists that will go crazy. Oh, free speech. All right, cool. What's your level of free speech? Because it's like, are you going to allow people to talk about Nazi rhetoric on your platform? Because that's free speech, right? Are you going to allow, you know, child pornography to circulate through the internet? Because that is free speech as well. You know, so what levels of it do you want to see? Now, I've seen it recently. Is a gentleman, he's a firefighter out in Miami-Dade County, and he was canceled because of his views on the police. He was responding to a police officer getting shot, and in a text message thread, it came out, somebody who was in the thread released it. He got fired from his job. But this is what he said, and I quote, "Who cares about another dead cop? Probably he was against gun control." Then he was like, "They didn't give a damn when kids were dying in school. They were standing outside and they didn't do anything. Cops exist for the government to exercise their monopoly on violence. They want the whole world to stop whenever one of them goes down, but they don't share a tid whenever a homeless person or unhoused person dies in the middle of the street from a drug overdose. How many idiots I had to transport while working EMS because they died during coronavirus and they was too stupid enough to wear a mask or get a vaccine." He was fired. This was a firefighter who worked 40 years on the job, and he was fired because of the text message that came out. So that's my example of cancel culture that I saw actually happen.
Right. And so him getting fired, was that I'm trying to figure out the context of that because I get what you're saying.
His fire chief came out and said his disregard for life was the reason he was fired.
Okay, his disregard for life. Okay. All right, because sometimes we have to look at it in context. Like for instance, when I worked for other companies, I wouldn't be able to do platforms like this, regardless of what I was saying. I could have been saying, save old ladies and children, but since I used a platform like this to say it, you know, my job would have a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? Because they basically wanted certain things to be presented. You know what I'm saying? Because even though on the clock, I'm a representative of them. Off the clock, I'm myself, right? But they feel like, you know, I represent the company 24/7. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why I was asking about that person, that firefighter. That saddens me. That saddens me because I think what he said there, he was sincere about. You know, and whether we agree with his stance or not, I felt like he said it from a place of earnestness. Like that's how he really felt.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and like you said, when it comes to your job, and I'll throw it over right after Pastor real quick. I would just say this real quick. Just like the example you brought up with your job and how they wanted you to represent them 24/7. In all reality, once you clock out, you go home. Like I just learned this concept called quiet quitting, and I think everybody should do it. Once it's time for you to clock out, close your laptop, go home and enjoy the rest of your day.
Right. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yes. I take a little. I kind of go because I tend to put things in a broader context, and in light of where we are in the world and in society. We've gone from worshiping God to worshiping opinion, and we get our affirmation from likes and what have you, and there is a gross narcissism that is permeated, so that opinion worship has grown to the degree that it has become a scenario where crabs in the bucket has become societal. And if you do not, the truth of communication has been governed. You know how you put a governor on a car so they can only go but so fast or so far. So now,
on a water dam, like
yes,
like a dam that holds water back. You only
yes,
allow a certain amount of
yes, and what it does to the ecology. People don't talk. There's a whole movie called Flow. If you want to see what dams do to what ecologies and what have you.
The ecosystems,
ecosystems
destroys it.
Yes, but it's for the greater good, which is not always good. Right now, because of opinion worship, people are at war with each other over opinions. It's because we're all sports fans, we call it takes, right? Yeah. What is your take? And what happens is each person is no longer a human. I'm a man, a masculine man, a man of God. But people are now projecting themselves as brands, and they want to protect their brand by governing what they say. Now, which means they're not completely honest. And you are punished for honesty now. So it's even all the more that you're not sure what you're getting when you're receiving information now, because it's not there's a as Hector said, there is a level of accountability. Now, and further, when we talk about accountability, we get there through what we call HEART, HEART. Those are our 5 core principles. The first one is honor. That's a foreign language right now. Honor is the level is a level of value and respect, right? Number 2 is encouragement. It takes courage to do the right things the right way for the right reasons. When my son was little, he asked me, "Dad, what's this word integrity?" He saw somebody on TV. He said, "Daddy, what is that? What does integrity mean?" And you got to mince meat down the milk for children. So I said it's to do the right things the right way for the right reasons, whether someone's watching or not. And the integrity, when you honor someone and you encourage them, now you're encouraging them to be their best selves, right? And when you honor and encourage, now you can have accountability, because then you have truth in your relationships and a relationship with the truth.
Right.
And that's where all this it becomes problematic, because if the truth is ugly, it will not be accepted. If the truth is not done with decorum, it is not accepted. But guess what? The truth crushed rises, right? And you may cancel the messenger, right? But the message, if it is true, still stands to bear. Right. So
like in the case of the firefighter.
Exactly.
Like in the case of the firefighter, and the things that he said about basically what he was saying was it boils down to people caring about people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You know, people caring about people. I think some of that is lost. But at the same time, I think certain entities, especially entities that just like what you guys alluded to, certain entities that can lose a public relations war, don't take the risk.
Yes.
And so for a civic organization in Miami-Dade County, they could lose the PR war because this guy came out and said something that was probably true to a lot of us and wish we had heard it sooner. It didn't come from them. Mm-hmm. And they didn't get a chance to control the narrative. Mm-hmm. And so now this guy is
terminated.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the truth is the exclamation point of his statement is really cause for conversation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cause for conversation. The quick and expedient response is to fire him and silence him.
Silence him. That's the main thing. Silence him. That's the
right.
How do you silence him as quick as possible? By firing him.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you? What did you know? He still has what's funny, he still has Twitter, right? He still has all those means to which he released what he said. Yeah. So it was punitive to a degree. Now I'm not sure if I agree with firing him. I'm not sure if I agree with firing him. Sanctioning him, yes. Always does the punishment meet. You're punishing his wife and his children, not just him. Right? You're punishing his community because now there's less economy in his community. So you're punishing more than him when you do that, and that is also the beating the slave in front of the other slaves, so that no one else does it. Right? It's not just silencing him. It's now anyone who's in public service will, and not just in the fire department, anyone who is connected to Dade County in any way, shape, or form now has a governor on their lips, right?
Yeah.
So that's the negative. That's the negative.
The message has been sent. They sent the
message.
message.
Yes.
Yeah, they said, but it's to me it's it doesn't, I wouldn't say depend on the situation, but it depends on the parties that are involved, right? Because when you look at that situation that happened in Miami-Dade County, the fire chief is pro-police, right? Super pro-police. So he took personal offense to that, and he wanted to make example out of him. Now, I'm giving an anecdotal evidence from my life. One thing I hate, I'm take that back. I'm not a big fan of anecdotal evidence. Like when people are having conversations and they like to bring up their own personal, anecdotals. Cool. I'm not a big fan of that, but I you go ahead, put it in the conversation. So with this anecdotal evidence that I have, when I worked as an EMT, I worked in EMS for about 5 years. I was a supervisor for the company in the Bronx, Citywide Mobile Response. During my time there, while working there was a woman who was working there as well in the back doing billing. She was close friends with the chief, the fire chief, with the chief that was in charge of our company. She said some problematic Islamophobic stuff on her Facebook, on her own personal Facebook. There was a girl that works with us who was Muslim at the time who took offense to that and messaged her like, listen, you're my friend at work. What is with this messaging? And after she sent that message, everybody from that woman's Facebook page came to my friend and just berated her with just racist, Islamophobic remarks. This was a black Muslim woman who was basically dragged through the mud on Facebook by a bunch of racists from Throgs Neck in the Bronx. So we went to the chief, and his response is, it's her own personal Facebook. She's allowed to say what she want to say.
Yeah.
But I asked them at the same time, let's flip it. The owner of the company is a Hasidic man. So I asked my chief, if I was to say anything problematic that will be deemed anti-Semitic or hurtful towards that community, would I still have my job if I was to say that on social media?
No.
He cannot give me an answer.
No, you know why? Because he knew the answer. And
because it was a black Muslim woman who was complaining about it, she had to just take it on the chin.
Right.
Now, should she have been fired? That's the question.
Robin?
The lady that made the comment.
Should she have been fired?
For the original comment, no.
Okay.
From the backlash that came afterwards, and you're creating a space that is having and allowing other people to attack somebody, then it gets out of hand. Because if you say something cool, copy, go say what you want to say, right? But if that leads to somebody causing harm to another person, then that's a different story. That's considered satirical terrorism. That's what that is. What I'm doing is I'm influencing you, and you're taking my influence to go and attack and harm somebody else.
Yes. Right. So the word is harm. The word here is harm. There was damage done.
And I just real quick, I disagree. I think she should have been fired on the spot. The first comment. The first comment, because you have to understand that we are all people, right?
Let me 2 seconds. I'm sorry. I agree that she should have been fired at the beginning, but when the chief said, right, and he gave me his explanation of, well, it's her own personal Facebook, she can say what she want to say. Cool. If that's the excuse you're going to, copy. But then the leading up with it is people now are attacking her and are doxing her information on the internet. Now should she be fired for that as well?
Yeah, we got to be careful how we step out here on these internet streets.
Exactly.
Because I promote, y'all know, I promote inclusion and respect and love, right? And then sometimes when I promote inclusion, respect, and love, I have to tackle tough topics, topics that need to be talked about.
And correction, I did say she was a black woman, right?
Yes, you did.
No.
Oh, okay.
You didn't. You mean the black woman that made the comment? Or
No. The person who was harmed, the person I was working with, I did mention. Okay, because I was just looking at a comment that said I didn't say that. Okay, cool.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
what about the woman that made the comment?
Oh, that was a white woman,
Okay.
and she was friends with the chief. She's not going to get fired. It's nepotism.
And she was friends with the black lady at work. At work, they're friends.
Yeah, at work, act like friends. Go on lunch. Everything is cool, cordial.
Right.
You know, work meeting. Everything is fine.
Right.
Went on Facebook. Totally different.
Right. Did she retract the comment?
Nope.
So she stood by her comment.
To this day, she still has a job at that place.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, we're dealing with years and years. This is not a new situation where the schisms, especially, and just say it straight out, where white supremacy is concerned, is not. You had Howard Cosell calling black men on fields monkeys on national TV, and it's not a new thing. We're just now having black quarterbacks on a regular basis because of the suggestions that have been made publicly, and the public square, the Herald very often spoke of it was a trickle down of the hierarchy, which is why I don't watch the news, even though my cousin is Checky Ann Beckford on Channel 4 News. I don't watch the news.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah. I don't watch the news. I was at 9/11. I was there. I worked at the World Trade Center. I know how everything went down. And the reporting even changed the names of the towers, North Tower and South Tower. Nobody who worked there ever said that. So there's a propagandization of what we receive in general. But now that we have become the reporters, the diatribe has taken up a notch. That's why, just like Chuck Freezy said, you got to be careful in these internet streets. But the beauty is the expose now. The reason Floyd happened all the time. But now it happened because we walk around with these.
Right.
Now there is a truth to bear. The lie that, that person was a criminal or this or that lie does not hold anymore because there's exposure. So the positives of cancel culture, which is where Hector went from jump, is accountability. The positives of it. The negatives of it is the negatives of it is the allowance of, or the silence of truth. The silence of truth. That's the negative. The negatives of it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then to add on to what Pastor Jeremy said, when it comes to Brother Floyd, who was horribly murdered unjustly, that's been going on for ages. You know, just like the same time you got indigenous communities, water protectors who are literally hosed down just from trying to protect their communities. They're being hosed down right now as we speak. There's been an ongoing incident situation, and since 2016 at Standing Rock, that people are literally being hosed down and being attacked by dogs. Like indigenous people, the cops are sicking dogs on indigenous people out there on Standing Rock. Like then they had a company that literally decided to, okay, if this is how you got, we're going for your food source. and they dried up the water, and all the salmon died. This is where indigenous people, they get their food.
Right.
You know, and just like Pastor Jeremy said, when you look at, you know, bring up the NFL, Colin Kaepernick is still canceled.
Yes.
Yeah.
From taking a knee.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that was complaining about it was sitting at home, not even standing.
Right.
And he wasn't even broadcasting that he was taking a knee.
Right.
You see, you understand? Normally during the Pledge of Allegiance, they're not showing the sidelines.
Right.
Anybody who watches broadcast television, they're showing a waving flag. They're showing a jet flying overhead. They're showing people in the stands holding their heart. They're doing everything to show a positive light, right? For some reason, this silent he never broadcasted, but it was broadcasted.
And initially, he decided to just sit down on the sideline, not bother nobody. Nate Boyer, who was a Green Beret Navy SEALs, told him, like, listen, you know, honestly, if you want to go about it the proper way, take a kneel, because when you take a kneel, that's in remembrance and honoring of people who passed away.
Yes.
Right. Yep. That was the advice he got.
Yes.
Nate said, it was like, yo,
from a Navy SEAL, from a Green Beret Navy SEAL. But all these LARPers with their flags and all this, they don't really care, bro.
No, but no, man. What clearly what happened was inciting a brewing race riot. That's basically what it was, in my opinion. That's basically what it was, inciting a race riot. It was brewing, and they needed a spark to have this thing jump off like they wanted to. Because Kaepernick sitting on the bench and not standing, you know what I'm saying? That might have been it too. They were like, he was sitting during the national anthem. So whatever protest he decided to do, he could have stayed in the locker room, stayed in the tunnel, and that would have been the thing.
Yeah.
So no matter what was it, when you protest, you are asking to be a martyr. Yeah. Basically, you're not coming out and saying it, maybe not even recognizing it. And you shouldn't be.
Yes.
And you shouldn't be, right? But anytime you protest against a system, then regardless how you do that protest, you are going to be a target for those that are on the opposite side of what you're protesting. And I know this for effect. It goes back years and years and years. You can peacefully march across a bridge in the South, and considered to be troublemakers. You know what I'm saying? And the law is going to figure out a way to try to, or some places, some entities will try to figure out a way.
Real quick, Freezy, I'll throw it over to Pastor real quick. Yes. During the civil rights protests, right? If you guys take a second, go look back at the pictures of people being hosed, the dogs being let on them. If you look at it, the majority of them were children. Yeah. Why? Because the adults at the time had to work. So the children got together and said, you know what? We're going to leave school and we're going to go onto the street, because they understood that their parents have to have an economical standing point in this society in order for them to have a house over their head. So they took it to the streets, and they were organizing. Different churches were organizing to have the high school kids, the junior high school kids, go to the street. And that's why if you look at those pictures, those are little kids that having dogs sicked on them. Those are little kids that having water hoses sprayed on them.
Exactly. And I wanted to even, I know you said 2016 was the beginning, but I'm going to go further back, because the truth is, it's just a change of hands. What it is blackballing was cancel culture, a top-down cancel culture.
Like McCarthyism.
Yes, exactly. The cancel culture was in the hands of the power elite, where the media was controlled. Well, still is, but still back in the day when I was an MC, X Factor back in the days, and we said Anchorman is just an actor, you know. Right. And Anchorman is just an actor. So you have to understand that there is and always has been the chilling effect. The Pavlov's dog approach to information, And the reason that they start off with killing and that what have you in the beginning of the news is to do something to you psychologically, to keep you in fear mode. So daddy government, please protect me. Right? My privilege, please protect me. And that is intentional, it's psychological, right? If you intentionally, there are two wolves in your life, right? There's a wolf that feeds on fear, negativity, anxiety, depression, and what have you. And the other one is feeds on hope, feeds on love, feeds on peace, feeds on joy, feeds on God. The wolf that leads your life, that leads the pack of your life, guess which one it is? The one you feed.
Yep.
Right? So it's funny, it's called a news feed, your social media, right? It's called a news feed, which is controlled by an algorithm. You have to ingest that because entertainment is not what you watch, it's what you allow in. You entertain guests, right? So how do you stay in contentment, right? Because you can have a lot or you can have a little, but there's a difference. A person who has a lot can be never satisfied, still resort to drugs and killing himself, right? A person without can be content, or a person with can be content. How do you maintain contentment? It's what you refuse to allow in. So
beautifully put.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
That.
Yeah.
You know, like I started initially, and Pastor brought it up. When we speak about cancel culture accountability, however, it all falls back, you know, even with your example that you gave, Freezy, with your job, it all falls back to, at the end of the day, private corporations is what governs us. Mm-hmm. You know, we live in a country where private corporations put profit over people. Mm-hmm. That's where you have so many monopolies that are going on right now. Amazon is a monopoly. Walmart is a monopoly. They all have manufacturing zones in other countries. That's why I always say, Pastor and Freezy, that, you know, especially because I cannot stand. I'm not a big fan of liberals, just like I'm not a big fan of conservative. I consider myself all the way on the left. I'm Marxist Leninist, so I'm not a big fan of either of them, right? But whenever I'm having conversations with people who love to say, yeah, I'm anti-racist, cool. How are you putting that into practice into your life when you say that you're anti-racist, right? Because if somebody says that they're anti-racist, but they're pro-capitalism at the same time, to me, it contradicts each other. You cannot be anti-racist and pro-capitalism because capitalism, it relies on the exploitation of the global South. It relies on the exploitation of the continent of Africa. It relies on the exploitation of Asia. So you cannot say that you are anti-racist if you are okay with the exploitation of black and brown and indigenous people of the world. You cannot say it.
Truth.
Right.
Truth.
Right.
It's hypocrisy. But at the same time, there are a lot of isms and schisms. You know, I have a problem with both wings because they fly the same bird, right?
They're centrists. They're both the same. They're both, if anybody was to take the political compass test, right, in the America when it comes to like the Democratic Party, if you was to take the American Democratic Party and put them in Canada, they would be considered the Conservative Party.
It's
that is interesting.
Yeah, that's why my government is God. That's why my government is God, right. and my politics is love, right? Keep it that. I keep it that simple.
Right.
It's funny, you know, but cancel culture even affects the church, where you're not allowed to say what sin is, right? You're no longer allowed to say what sin is and what it isn't. Unless some pastors, I say it, but
why is that though? Why is that?
Because of what happens is the schisms become so, especially with the politicization of sexuality. Right now, there's a politicization of sexuality, and because of the promotion of individualism, which is what what the serpent did to Eve in the very beginning was to promote self. When you love is outward, but the degradation and corruption is an inward thing. And I'll give a very brief Bible. Jesus is walking on water. Peter says, "Bid me to come." The miracle is not God walking on water. Jesus walking on water is not the miracle. The miracle is Peter walking on water.
Yeah.
Peter's walking on water towards Jesus. He's on water. It's when he looks, but when he looks at himself,
is when he saw the ground.
Why he starts to sink.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's our self absorption. And what happens is, if I am corrected, or if, because Romans 3:23, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. However, if I like my sin,
okay,
right,
okay,
and I find others who like my sin, you can't talk about it, right? I'm going to create an atmosphere where you can't talk about it. Or I'm going to create it politically. I'm going to create it in the media. I'm going to, and the truth is,
does the super church have something to do with that?
Mega churches.
Mega church does have has his issues. It does have its issues because of branding, the whole thing of branding, and the fear of the loss of economy, the fear of now the word inclusion is designed to, and it's an expression of love. Love, true love, is based in truth. That's why I started even with truth in the beginning. It's called true love, right? And in true love, you have honored someone, you've encouraged them, so now there can be some transparency, right? But what's happening is this is being broadcast. And whenever you embarrass somebody or say something public, now it becomes a measure of people digging their heels in and go and become combative. Correct. Right. We don't want. I think that the cancel culture thing, I think, is a defense mechanism and a weapon at the same time. Mm-hmm. I guess that's what we're like. For instance, I would say to you guys, like Heck and Pastor Jay, when I talk to you, whether it's now or in the very beginning, I had no expectation for our relationship other than we can kick it and be friends in the beginning, be respectful and love each other. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like listen, for instance, I never wanted anything from Heck, right? Except maybe him to change his team, the Yankees stuff, right? But I never had an expectation from him from day one. Other than be the best, well, two things: be the best version of yourself, and express. And you can be comfortable around me because I don't judge. I don't care about certain things. Like, you don't have to be 6'5". You don't have to drive a certain car. You don't have to have a certain amount of money. The thing I always wanted from everybody is to be the best version of themselves and be honest with me. Mm-hmm. And we can kick it.
That's love. Yeah, that's walking in love.
That's love. That's love.
Right. And right. But what I'm getting at though, is while I view, this walk that I'm on in that way, it's kind of why me and Chuck Allen get along so well, because I don't judge Chuck. Chuck don't judge. We basically now here's the thing. If we get outside of the rails, if we get close to the line and maybe step outside the lines, then I expect y'all to say something to me like, "Hey man, that ain't like you, tighten up." Right? And if I see Pastor Jay, I'm gonna say the same. If I see him, and I know this won't happen, right? But I'm saying if I see him and I see him doing outside of something that he normally does, right? I'll be like, "Hey, Pastor Jay, listen, man, this is not like you. What's going on?" The same thing with Heck. And so it's that accountability aspect. But when people understand who they are, right, they generally don't look to go that way. Something may happen to them, some type of frustration, some type of life event may force me to like I may stump my foot before I get on the air, and y'all hear me cussing. Hey man, Uncle Freezy, what's going on? Man, I stepped in some puppy pool and slipped and hit my foot, and they're like, "Oh, okay, something happened." But that's not who he really is. You know what I'm saying? 20. You know what I'm saying?
But
oh, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that. We're taught. The people say don't judge. The truth is that's all we do. Every decision is a judgment. It is how we judge. What you're saying is don't condemn. The example that Christ gave was he said, "Judge lest ye be judged by the measure and judge you me." In other words, how you judge people is how you're going to be judged. Now, the example was given. He said, first remove he says plank, I say telephone pole, so it's graphic. First remove the telephone pole from your own eye so you understand the excruciating pain of removing the telephone pole from your own eye. Then go help your brother remove the splinter from his eye. Because what you'll do now is you're going to do it with tenderness. You're going to do it with care, right? You're going to do it with relationally. You're going to instruct with wisdom and love. It's good. It's really relational and it's really visceral.
Empathy and concern. Yeah.
Yes, true empathy and concern. And we've lost that.
Have y'all noticed? I was going to say, have y'all noticed that people are less concerned now with others?
Yeah. And
more concerned with their personal corporation?
Yes. And are entertained by the pain of others.
It's people have they put weight and they put value into status symbols. We live in a society that it's commodities, is buy. It's all commodity driven. If you look at my cell phone, the battery in my cell phone is built to last only a year and a half to 2 years. That's the amount of charges it's able to have. My screen protector is built to last for only a year and a half to 2 years because they want me to update it and keep buying. They can make a phone, an iPhone like this that can last for 10 years. They just choose not to. One thing that is very interesting when it comes to our society is that, with all the advancements, technological advancements we've made from the 50s till now in the 20s when it comes to cars, cell phones, planes, all that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even with all that advancement here in 2022, we can honestly say back in 1950, they made a more reliable car that was safer for us to drive on the road than they do right now. And why is that? It's because of commodifying and trying to cut around the curves and trying to cut the cost at everything just so they can sell it for a higher dollar.
And more frequently.
Yes, because it's called forced obsolescence. Your updates are designed for you to go and buy a new phone. Your updates slowly corrode your phone. People don't know that. Look it up. Yeah. It's called forced obsolescence. Look it up. Forced obsolescence.
Yeah, because you have certain iPhones that if they were made in 2012, they can't run the updated software program from 2022, so it's obsolete, and you have to throw it in the trash because it's not going to work on the network. Point blank. Period.
Pretty much.
Pastor, I'm gonna say I've been loving the conversation so far, Pastor. So please, take the next that I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Please don't kill me for what I'm about to say. I mean it with all love and honesty. As somebody whose family is Borican, my family's from the island of Puerto Rico. We are people of the Taino. Taino is an umbrella term. It's an indigenous word that means of the same blood, cousins, family, etc., etc., etc.
Yes.
There's different islands. You have Puerto Rico, you got Cuba, you got Haiti, you got Jamaica, you got the tip of Florida Peninsula that's right there. So when the conversation of religion comes into into it, it kind of not turns me off or like disheartens me. It's just the reason I'm here right now in the United States. It's because of what religion did to that island. It's because of Western imperialism and the spread of that word. And I feel, this is me personally, right? So this is nothing against you. This is nothing against anybody else. I have no problem with people who want to practice a religion, right? Go ahead, practice your religion, do what you have to do. I will honestly fight tooth and nail for you, Pastor, to be able to preach to your flock, to be able to have your safe. I would do that, right? But at the same time, I do not want religion to govern government. That's just me personally. I don't want any religion to be influencing government because we live in a melting pot that not everybody practices the same religion. You know,
Right.
you got Buddhism, you got Hinduism, you got Muslims, you got Catholics, you got Christians, you got Jewish people, you got different denominations. You got some people that decide to only follow the Old Testament because they want to sell their daughter when they're 14 just so they can buy a pickup truck. So there's so many different versions of religion that people want to follow. So I personally like to keep it separate. You know, that's just me personally.
So what does govern government then? Like what do you want to see? What do you want to see government controlled by?
Well, there's been plenty of different forms of government. If you look to the indigenous people of America, they had their own form of government that was totally separate from their religious practices.
No, I ain't talking about
their
them. I'm
sacred
talking
practices.
about Hector. I ain't talking about them.
Why-
Like, what's your preference?
My preference is I'm 100% for democracy to the fullest extent. I want democracy in the workplace. I want democracy at the voting booth. I want democracy 100%, 150%. I love democracy so much. If you cannot stand your manager at McDonald's, I want you to have the ability to vote in your new manager.
Okay.
I want every politician who's in politics right now that that hold a position. You cannot have any stocks. Divulge all your stocks. You cannot take any corporate PAC money whatsoever. You cannot take any of that.
Okay.
Get rid of it all.
So I just want to ask him this. So if people practice democracy wrong, right? Or do you want to throw out democracy?
No, right now we don't practice democracy.
No. But I'm saying, so if people practice democracy wrong, do you want to throw out democracy? See, there are people who practice their relationship with God wrong, and religion gets thrown in as a straw man,
right?
As a straw man, and denigrates that there is something greater than man that is governing, and because we're so in it, and it's so. And there's so much feeling behind it. We are quick. There would be no hospitals without religion in this country. The higher education was formed by those of religion. The fact that there's public school at all. Have you ever heard of the Primer? The Primer is the very first book that was used for public school. If you read it, you'll see where the direction it came from. We're quick to throw out the sciences. The fathers of every sciences were believers. Were believers in God. Their curiosity came from how did he do this? We've lost that awe and respect. See, it begins with honor. It begins with honor. Because you want to honor the free will that we were given, that's why you love democracy, because our free will is valuable. Right? Freedom is valuable. And you haven't heard me denigrate anything or anyone. Right? I value, we're given, each human being is given 180,000 heartbeats in a day, 23,000 breaths in a day. Mine are valuable and yours are valuable. You see, when you start there, you start in humility. And if you start in humility, you cannot love without humility. Right?
Right. You're talking about root cause.
Yes.
Like, what's the root?
The issue is
the essence, the very beginning.
The heart of man.
Right.
The heart of the problem is the heart of man, and our hearts are corrupt. Right? So no matter what we set up, there's going to be corruption in it. Right? And even when we try to honor God, sometimes the heart issues and politics come into play, sadly. But it begins with us intentionally. You can only control what you can control, right? Right? I could I want to be very clear. My love of God is why I can say I love you, Hector, and just met you and mean it wholeheartedly. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
At the same at the same time, as somebody who believes in, you know, putting the energy into the universe, I can say the same thing, you know, like I don't have anything that's telling me to love you, you know, like I just know that I am to love you. And that's why I brought it from the point of I would fight tooth and nail, like I said, Pastor, for you and your flock to be able to practice your practices, not try to cap or not try to control some whatever, you know, because I understand there's different religions, you know, I understand that, you know, there's so many different denominations of Christianity. My issue is, you know, who gets to dictate what religion is what uses is or is being used to influence laws at a state and at a federal level. That's my only problem, because you have different viewpoints and different ways of lights when it comes to how people set up their households in different religions, who's the breadwinner, however, whatever. Everybody doesn't come from the same manuscript, if I can say, you know, if that's true. Every religion comes from different playbooks. They call different places up. So that's why I just say, how do we decide and how do we dictate which religion is controlling the conversation?
It's not which religion is controlling the conversation. You see, we're it's just like the technology we showed before. It's already created. It's already done. We are responding to what already is happening.
Okay.
Right? The reality is that God has allowed man to govern. Is allowed man to govern, right? His only request is that you honor him throughout all that you do, that you operate in integrity and honor him as you do it, right? And which religion, those delineations, those isms and schisms are the byproduct of the heart of man. It still comes back to the heart of man. It comes back to the heart of man. When I'm in my casket, you're not going to see, you know, Democrat, Republic, or other stuff, right? Right. The rights will be given, and my spirit is going to go back. To the Father. Right. We're only here, but for so long. We are placed where we're placed to love as best as we can. Right? Now, by focusing on all of the isms and schisms, you're distracted from loving people where they are. Love people where they are. Right? Love people where they are.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Respect.
I feel you.
Respect.
And so I'm a wrap up here, man. God, hey man, time be flying, bro.
Yeah, I was about to say this conversation getting heavy. I love this. I love this so far.
Man.
Pastor Jeremy, just know it's all from a place of love. Just know
I know
that.
that.
Just
I know
that.
that.
Yeah,
I know
I was
that.
going to ask y'all if y'all had 3 more hours, but I think we all got to head.
Hey, Bodega Wi-Fi. What color your Bugatti? That man's trash. Stop. That right there is the man who's poisoning kids and the youth.
Yeah, man. So, hey, I want to say thank you to y'all for coming through and hanging out with us this morning. I'm gonna definitely invite y'all back so that we can continue to have conversations like this one on Vibes and stuff live in the morning. Live is how we do it every weekday morning, man. And so for those out there watching on the Front Stoop and on Vibes and stuff, if you like conversations like this one, and especially this one, subscribe to the channel, smash the like button. We'll have more content just like this coming out every weekday. Tomorrow we are going to talk about broke and the mindset of being broke. Right? Is it forced on us, or is it a created mindset? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Again, guys, thank y'all for coming through and hanging out with us. You know, this time flew by so fast. Next time, you know, technology is undefeated. So we had a late start. So yeah, y'all know what that is. But I'm gonna just say to the Front Stoopers out there, peace. To the vibrant ones out there, peace, and we'll holler at y'all later.